Hi guys, today we're going to talk a little bit about the purpose of writing a fantastic lead at the start of your memoir. So a good lead is really hard to write. It must entice, engage, persuade the reader to keep reading by sinking its claws deep into its victim's psyche and not allowing them to escape. A strong beginning must not only engage the reader, but it must introduce the story's voice and set the tone and pace. It should also make your reader intrigued and want to keep on reading. Essentially, when you think about writing a lead, you have four options. You have the dramatic lead, which is starting off with a punch, the action lead, which starts right in an ongoing scene where the action is. Slow build, start by setting the mood before hooking your reader, or dialogue. Let your characters, you being one of them, set the tone. So, in the example that we saw by Mrs. Muldoon, she started off with an action slow build type of lead. I'm going to let you pause the video and just take a moment to reread this and kind of think about how this is an action or slow build type of lead. There is an example here of a dramatic lead to create a feeling of tension. Mrs. Muldoon could have started off her memoir by saying, "My heart was pounding, my palms were sweating, and nausea came over me like a soggy, wet blanket. That sums up my first experience on a roller coaster." She also could have started off with a dramatic lead to show a feeling of through figurative language by saying, "Fear so strong it engulfed me like flames engulf paper in a fire. That was my feeling during my very first roller coaster ride." An example of an action lead to show her opinion on the topic of her memoir. "Now, the moment you reach the very top of a coaster is a defining moment. It is the moment when you decide that you love roller coasters, or like me, you hate them." There is also an example of an action dialogue lead to create a dramatic or mysterious feeling, when she could have simply just started out by saying, "I truly thought I was going to die." Another example of using some inner dialogue, and this helps the reader gain immediate insight into a personal experience. So you'd want to start with something that has happened to you. It could be part of the story, or it could be something that is not part of what you are writing about, but still relates to your topic. So she could have started off by saying, "One time my father lied to me. Rather, he kept a truth from me. He let me think that riding a roller coaster was like riding in a car when he knew it wasn't." She also could have started off with a slow build to prompt the reader, excuse me, spring allergies are intense, to prompt the reader to imagine your situation by using sensory language. "Imagine this. You get on a roller coaster thinking that it is simply like a car ride up and down some hills. Before you know it, you are being cranked up a gigantically steep hill and almost peeing your pants from fright, but within seconds, thrust down an even steeper hill." Again, dialogue, speaking to the reader directly by using second person. "What is your most frightening moment? A roller coaster ride? For me, yes, for sure." Here's another example of a slow build to show the setting. It was a small, old-school amusement park that had loads of charm. It had all the essentials: a modest Ferris wheel, bumper cars that had been used so much the paint was chipped, and the soft, puffy leather steering wheels were peeling and worn. There was a tilt-a-whirl that barely tilted or whirled, some old teacups, and a really beautiful out-of-place carousel. Of course, no amusement park would be complete without a roller coaster, and this park had it, so you can kind of get the setting and the tone there. Another example of a dialogue action lead to preview the end of the moment at the beginning of your memoir. "Why were they screaming? How is going up and down a hill in a train scary enough to make you scream? I learned the answer to that question the hard way." And another example of dialogue / slow build to show the readers the type of narrator you are. "I definitely feel different from most people. Yes, I admit it. I don't like rides. As I have grown older, I have learned to be okay with this. But it was tough, hanging out with my friends and family at amusement parks. My fear all began when I was 7 years old. That's when I took my first ride on a roller coaster. And then there's also another example of a dialogue lead. This can show your comedic side to make your readers laugh. Only really lame people don't like roller coaster rides. Well, I guess I'm one of those really lame people. So, if you find that you are struggling initially when you are trying to write your lead, don't worry. Take a moment and think to yourself, maybe I should write my lead when I'm done with my first draft and I know where my memoir is going. Then you can go back and start your memoir as close to the action as possible by using one of those 4 different types of leads. So essentially, don't write the beginning of your memoir at the beginning of the writing process. And always remember, just keep editing, editing, editing. All right, good luck.